sticking with the theme of players who never get injured, getting injured. So we've now known that Declan Rice, it's been reported that he has picked up a hamstring problem. Arteta was very tight-lipped on it at Liverpool, as you would expect him to be. But with Declan Rice, again, like Trossard, he's so rarely injured and so important to the team in that left eight role. He's made 50 appearances this season, and in that role that he plays, he's going to be charging up and down the pitch, all game because of how brilliant he is in an athletic sense. But given that he is relentless in that position, just like Trossard, was it only a matter of time before he picked up something?
Yeah, again, went deep into the Euros, went to the final in the Euros, play, key for England. Last season was an absolute warrior for Arsenal. Yeah, he's just clocked up so many minutes, and I'm not surprised something like that happened. I mean, especially the last couple of months when he's basically been carrying Arsenal on his back as well for large chunks of it. He's been so good while others around him have struggled. So, yeah, it's a shame. I would absolutely, if there's any doubt, and Sammy from the BBC reported, Sammy Mockbell, fantastic reporter, reported the injury yesterday and said that in his report that Arsenal were hopeful it wasn't anything too serious. We're not looking at a Saka Havertz type situation. But if there's any doubt on it, I just think you say thank you very much for your service, Declan. Go and put your feet up now. You don't take any sort of risk. The worst thing that can happen now is that he does Arsenal try and push it or something, and he ends up really aggravating it, and it becomes worse than it is. Because what Declan Rice needs now, like so many of the players, is just a summer of sunbeds, relaxation, not even thinking about football. The last thing he needs is to have his holiday plans thrown out the door and to be having to go to London Colney every day for rehab and basically missing out on his whole summer off because he's having to rehab at Colney and basically going into work every single day. It would be awful. So just no risk. Let him go and have his holidays. I know there's a big game at the weekend, but you can do without him. You did without him against Liverpool at Anfield. You can do without him this weekend. That's what your squad's for. Don't take any risks and make sure he is ready to go when he comes back for pre-season and he's fully recharged and ready. Because I just can't. There would be nothing worse than Declan Rice not being able to have a summer off and having to come into Colney every week for rehab. It would just be it'd be a real shame. So no risk. Wrap him up in cotton wool.
Yeah, you just answered my next question perfectly. I was going to say, obviously, Sammy did say Arsenal are hopeful it's not serious, but even with the most minor hamstring injuries, they can take maybe 2, 3 weeks
Yeah.
to heal. So, like you said, I was going to say, should he just not be risked for that Southampton game? And of course, you don't think so, which is completely fair. But for the Newcastle game, the Merino ban does complicate things a bit in that left eight role. And of course, I also noticed that Georgino, he was on the bench against PSG, but not at Anfield. So that would suggest maybe he's still not fully
Coach.
fit.
He
Yeah.
was just coach. He was just there as coaching role against PSG.
Ah, fair enough. Okay, yeah. So still not. I mean, yeah. Just on Georginio briefly. So that Arteta said that he is still hopeful that he might play again before the end of the season. Are you hopeful that there could be this weekend, or would Southampton be a more realistic goal?
Who's that? Sorry, which player?
Jorginho.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like I said, I think he basically went to PSG as another coach. He went there to support the team. I don't think he was anywhere near ready. He hadn't been training. I think it was, Jorginho's so important behind the scenes to this team and in the dressing room that I think Arteta and him and the players just wanted him to be there to really help. I mean, he was warming up for the entire game, but he was never coming on. He was just warming up so he could be there and delivering Arteta's words and his own words. So I'd be surprised with Georgino, maybe, but he hasn't played for so long that even if he's come back training this week, I think it'd be too. You can't really put him in. It's such a physical game against Newcastle that I'd be surprised if we see anything. It's a really big decision Arteta's got to face now because the red card to Mourinho, the injury to Trossard. Suddenly you got no forward, you got no left eight with Declan Rice out as well. Mourinho would normally drop in there, but he can't play there in place of Rice. So you're looking at real sort of scratching around for options in terms of what you do on the left. Because I imagine Martinelli's going to have to play up front as a striker, which I'm kind of happy with because he pressed there against Liverpool. Then you got I don't know, Sterling. No thanks. No disrespect to Sterling, but it just doesn't seem any point in Raheem Sterling playing that game. Kieran Tierney's an option. You could play Ethan Nwaneri and move him over to the left-hand side. We've not really seen that before. So there are some options. Zenko in the left eight role, but it's not ideal, obviously, especially for a game that is still very important. If Newcastle win, they go ahead of Arsenal and probably take second in the Premier League overall. So it is an important game for Arsenal, but injuries, unfortunately, as has been the way this season, are really taking their toll.
As we say every week, story of Arsenal's season. But like you said, with that left eight role, I mean, Zinchenko, stands out to me as the prime candidate because he has
Yeah.
played in that position this season. But now that Calafiori is back, he can play at left back. He can maybe move Lewis Skelly into that role. I mean, would you prefer Zinchenko just because he's got more minutes in that position, or do you think it's a good opportunity to test Lewis Skelly in the left eight role? Are you veering towards one or the other?
I think I would probably go with Zinchenko and keep Lewis Skelly at left back just because Lewis Skelly's so good at left back. And you kind of look at Newcastle and the threat they pose on the counter attack. Jacob Murphy over on the right hand side has had a great season, so many assists for him. And so I'd probably keep Lewis Skelly there and go with Zinchenko. Interestingly, when Zinchenko's played in those sort of eight roles, when he's impressed me the most is when he's kind of filled in for Odegaard playing on the right side rather than the left side of the eights. But I still think he is probably the most likely option. It would be interesting to see Lewis Skelly play there. It would be interesting. And like I said, Calafiori's been building his minutes up, so maybe he's ready to start at the weekend. So Arteta's going to have to get creative whichever way he goes about it. And it'll be interesting to see which way he goes.